Thank you for tuning in to the COVID-19 Businesses Helping Businesses Survive the New Normal podcast, providing small business owners with helpful tools, information, and resources needed to survive and thrive, even in uncertain times.
Good morning. I'm excited here today. My name is Donald Anderson, owner of Taylor & Anderson, LLC, based in Waldorf, Maryland. I'm excited today to have Ms. Tawanda Livingston, supplier diversity expert and owner of Livingston Works. And today we're going to discuss different things from supplier diversity. We're also going to talk about business missions and plans, as well as how to empower yourself within your current business model. So I'd like to start off and introduce Tawanda, and she can start off and tell us a little bit about supplier diversity and why it's important to have that within your business model.
Thank you, Donald, for having me today. I really appreciate it. And as you stated, I'm the proud owner of Livingston Works, LLC. I am the chief business strategist of Livingston Works, which is a equity, diversity, and inclusion firm. We handle and manage and help folks with everything, all things that involve equity, diversity, and inclusion. And my passion, of course, is supplier diversity. And supplier diversity for all of us here, so we're on the same page, is the proactive measures organizations, businesses, and governments take to increase inclusion of minority and women businesses in their contracting practices. Some of you may know them as Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program, Socially Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, but supplier diversity encompasses not only the reactive programs like MBE and WBE programs, which are remedial measures to correct discriminations in the marketplace, but it also includes proactive measures that companies adopt to increase inclusion of minority and women businesses. And I am a staunch advocate for supplier diversity because we as Americans have inherited a discriminatory economic system that denies all Americans the right to rise, specifically minority and women. So I take it my business to help minorities and women get into the contracting space, not only get in, but stay in until they win, and winning becomes a habit for their business.
That's excellent, Tawanda. I know, I hope we can dig into some of the advantages and also hopefully reach people that may not have heard of supplier diversity. I know initially when I first met you virtually, I think about probably 2-3 years ago, I'm not sure the exact date, but I know my business was basically getting off the ground. And I know you have, I think it was on LinkedIn if I'm not mistaken, but long story short, I saw some of your work within the WSSC realm and some of the things you did, articles, and you're a renowned expert when it comes to supplier diversity. And at that time, I didn't know what supplier diversity was. I was, business owner out here. I've worked a lot in the independent space because of my business model, but I've run across a lot of clients that sometimes either have not heard of supplier diversity or would like to know how can they position their company. Let's say they're a 2 to 5-year-old firm and they're on the cusp of growth, but they just cannot crack that contracting window, and they may be women-owned, minority, which minority does stretch beyond Black. You could be Hispanic, majority women. If you could touch on how they can position themselves, because again, with entrepreneurs, there's really no guide to say, this is what you need to do if you're out here. Once you're out there and you're working in that space, it's either sink or swim, for lack of a better word. So how do they position themselves to take advantage of not only the contracting opportunities, but also to position their firm so they're in the right pipeline when it comes to seeking contracting opportunities, or they're looking for income or, loans to like branch out on what they're doing and expand without becoming overwhelmed in the process? So can you touch on that?
Yes. What I would say, let me just start first by stating that I recognize that as an entrepreneur, you're already a risk taker. And a part of your business model has to be growth. You have to have a part of your strategic plan, your business model, or your business roadmap of growth, customer engagement. And one of the customers I try to encourage businesses to go after is government contracting, private sector contracting, public contracting, because there are trillions of dollars available there, that and of those trillions of dollars that are there are billions that are earmarked for minority or diverse and women firms. And in order to go after that, you have to position your business to go after that. That's a strategic decision. That's strategic positioning in your customer engagement model, whether it's B2B or B2C. You need to be able to say, okay, in order to infuse growth as well as cash flow, sustainable cash flow in my business, I need to go after some of the larger clients. And you cannot think that you're too small. If you're telling yourself you're too small to go after these contracting opportunities, today I need you to stop telling yourself that lie. Because I can tell you with unequivocally that the government and public and private sector buy everything from paper clips to pipes. They buy from staff augmentations to systems. They maintenance services, cleaning services, car wash services, anything that you can think of or you sell. I'm pretty sure that there is a government, public, and private sector entity that is purchasing that services. Whether you're a caterer, whether you do laundry services, again, they purchase everything. So the thing that you have to do is a part of your strategic model or your business model is include the ability to engage these customers. Now, let me just tell you that contracting opportunities or purchase order opportunities with these entities range from $5 to $500 billion. The objective is to position yourself so that you can go after these contracting opportunities. So if you are starting out, what I would suggest you do is to go after the contracting opportunities that are $100,000 or less, because one, there are less competition. You'll be competing against like-minded firms, and most entities have small purchases or expedited purchases or purchases that they do not have to use traditional means of contracting methods to go after those purchases, and they go after quotes. And that way you can get a feel for the customer, to flush out the customer to see whether or not you want to form a strategic alliance with this customer. But in the meantime, between time, you put your feet in their door. Now, before you pursue those opportunities, what you need to know is that the public and government and private sector, their supplier diversity programs require you to be a certified minority or woman-owned business, right? So a minority can be African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Native American, and also women could be minority. You could be a minority woman in a woman-owned business, or you can just be a woman-owned business. So you have to be certified by either that entity or a third-party entity that is recognized by that agency. And there are reputable certification organizations that are recognized by many agencies, and I would encourage you to seek them out. Now, let me just say this. Not all certifications are created equal, so you must do your homework on your client to make sure that the certification you're pursuing for your business is one that they accept. And let me just tell you about certification. Certification is a way that an entity, one, authenticates your business as a minority or woman-owned business, meaning that you're 51% owned, operated, and controlled by a minority or woman. It's also a way that you can gain access to decision makers, contracting folks who make decisions, and contracting opportunities that have been earmarked just for your business. And certification is a way you accelerate your growth because you are now a part of an elite pool of certified firms. You are now in a position to accelerate your business if you leverage your certification properly. And what you have to do is lead with your capabilities and close with your certification in these industries. And the reason why I say lead with your capabilities is because at the end of the day, we know the value that you bring to the market. We know the expertise that you bring to the market. But you also need to bring something a little bit extra because there's a lot of barbecue sauces on the racks, right? When you go into a supermarket, you go down an aisle, there's a wall of barbecue sauces. But what makes the consumer choose your sauce? And we want the government, public, or private sector to choose your sauce every time. So what gives you the edge is certification. So as you're discussing your capabilities with your client, you see that they have a supplier diversity initiative, you can say, oh, by the way, did I tell you that I'm certified with X, Y, and Z? And that gives you an edge over the competition. So again, when you're going after these opportunities, you have to sit down and say, okay, do I want to pursue contracting opportunities in the government and private and public sector? Do I want to go after these quote unquote big boys? Because they're really not big boys. They're really kids in a sandbox, and they need guidance and support from entities like you to help them grow up. So you have to make that decision whether or not you want to play in that sandbox with them. And if you do want to play in that sandbox with them, then the first thing you want to do is make sure you seek out a certification that is uniformly accepted, because certification, become certified is either costly in money or time. So you want to make sure you're strategic about the certifications you go after and they meet your customers' guidelines. Then you want to identify contracting opportunities with your client. Maybe you want to start out small, doing direct, because you want to try it. Every chance, I always encourage people to go for the prime route, and that is to do business with the client directly if you can, if you're positioned, because I don't want you to set yourself up to fail. That's not what we're trying to do. But if you're not ready to go after the prime opportunity, please know that you can also go after subcontracting opportunities with that same client, meaning that you're not dealing directly with the end user. You're dealing with a contractor that's working for the end user who's trying to satisfy a subcontracting goal that has specifically been set for the utilization of minority and women businesses. So you can go after prime opportunities, sub opportunities, or you can go after direct opportunities in their small purchase arena to help grow your businesses and get your feet wet with your client or your customer base. And while you're doing that and you're doing business with your client, do homework. Continue to grow and understand their full customer value stream. Understand their pain points. Understand how they purchase and why they purchase, because you may have a evolutionary solution that this client can use in their operations or practices that can help them put on a good face for their customer. And again, the reason why I'm telling you to do homework on your customer, because in order to grow your business, I don't care what market you're in, where you're at, you have to be in a position to bring more value to your customers. And you have to be able to create loyal customers, people and clients and businesses that keep coming back to you because they know the quality, they know your ethics, they know you're going to deliver. And the sweet spot is that you're going to help them satisfy their either regulatory or proactive measure related to supplier diversity.
Okay, that is excellent, Tawanda. And I want to piggyback on that because I know we could have listeners that are working in the space independently, that when you start talking government, contracting, and different, trillions of dollars, it can be intimidating. And I want to stress two main points. If you're out there and you're in an independent space, or let's say you just launched your business, it is very important that you have a defined mission statement. Your mission statement defines what your organization is, why it exists, and the reason of your being. It's knowing what your why and your passion behind what you're doing. You need to have a cause and be passionate about it. I mean, your business is a reflection of yourself, and also the efforts when you start talking about strategic marketing. I am an advocate of that when it comes to, if you're the small engine that could, I don't know if you remember that fairy tale back in the day, the little engine going up the hill that's trying, but you're trying to tackle a huge world, and you cannot do it by yourself. I just want to be transparent. You have to have strategic partners that can help you build, grow, and empower. But without a good mission statement, you're basically out there fishing without a fishing rod, because you don't. The potential vendors, they need to know what do you stand for. And there's a system called SAMS, like the SAMS system with the federal government. When you apply and get registered, if you're not in the system properly, you don't even get seen. You have to have everything in there, whether you're going after sources sought for experienced vendors or you're new for inexperienced, at least be relevant and have a mission statement that can actually define, oh yeah, that company does paper clips or whatever your industry is. They need to know, because without that, you're basically lost in the sauce and you don't get looked at. So it's important that you have that. Second thing is your name and your cause, because as you brand yourself out there, it's just like Nike, Adidas, Reebok, you know what they stand for. So whether you're new in the business or you're, let's say, experienced, but you're still having a problem getting seen, marketing efforts, branding, some of the things that we're doing now with this podcast, showing who you are on a regional level or global level with your name. What do you stand for? How do you market yourself? Who recommends your business? If you haven't done business with the government, do you have recommendations from private people to say, yeah, that person, I can stand behind their work. They've done this, they've done that. That goes a long way when it comes to someone saying, I want to extend a contract to you, because they have to trust you. If they don't trust you, it's the decision makers are doing it. They're looking at hundreds and different firms out there that may have similar products and services, but your brand, your name, and your marketing is going to go a long way when it comes to, yeah, I want to use this firm to do X, Y, and Z, or yeah, I want to use this firm. They need to know, what do you stand for in the market? I think Martin Luther King said it best when he said faith is not seeing the whole staircase before taking that first step. You have to take a step. And if you don't take a step, then you're just sitting on the outside looking in. And these type of podcasts that we're developing with Ad Voices, with Gail, and also great speakers like Ms. Livingston, this helps us take the small and build it up to a large. But we need to get the voice and the cause out there. And I'm an advocate of strategic marketing, bridging the gaps, networking. I'm a living testimony to that. But you have to have a good statement. So if Tawana, if you talk on, like when you started Livingston Works, and maybe some of your passion, because you're a natural speaker, but the passion behind that, so people can just see it. Because I don't believe in oversell. I believe in you organically recruit based on the passion and based on what God has in it for you. But your name means a lot. So can you talk a little bit about why, the mission statement, but also the marketing and partnering, so you can turn that around and have people look at you in a bigger scope, even though you might be a smaller company out there and not quite sure on how to put my foot in the water. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. What I would say is absolutely what is driving you every day is your purpose, your why, your reason for existing as a person or as a business owner. And I totally agree with you that you need to have a strong mission statement. and more importantly, a strong value proposition. Whether it's your mission statement or your value proposition or the products and services you serve, they must be customer focused. I understand that you might be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if you are not able to engage your customer, meaning that your vision, your mission, or your sales pitch does not resonate with your customer, you lost the customer. You're going to lose customers. So when you're thinking of your strategic plan and business model and developing your mission statement, make it customer focused, customer centric. Your purpose should be embedded in your mission statement and your value proposition. However, keep in mind that it must speak to your customer. And one thing that you're going to need in your toolkit, because I believe you need to have a deep reservoir of resources, and one thing that you're going to need in your toolkit is a capability statement. Whether you're independently self-employed or whether you are a structured business, you need to have a capability statement. And a capability statement is typically a one-pager that helps decision makers in the public, private, and government sector quickly assess whether or not you will be a good fit for their organization. So if you haven't developed a capability statement, you want to do that. And the capability statement simply has your branding information, your contact information on it. It has your core competencies, what differentiates you from the competition, some of your company data, and it also lists your certification and North American industry codes, which is your NAAQS codes, and which is very, very important, as well as any other codes you may have. And again, you want to make sure that capability statement speaks to your customer. I can't stress that enough. And in reference to branding and marketing your firm, it can't be me. You have to definitely meet your customers where they are with your brand, and your brand has to resonate with them and the value that you can bring to their organization. Keyword: value, solution focused, value driven, things that are going to either help them cut costs, increase their growth, improve their customer experience, and improve their employees' way of life or their positioning in the marketplace. Again, your focus in engaging those customers has to be in that area, in those areas. And what I would state is this, is also in reference to scaling up your business. So you say if you are a sole owner of an LLC and you want to go after government contracting, the one way you can scale up is to either subcontract work out to other firms that can help you meet the requirements of the company, or you can partner through joint ventures and collaborate, and I call it co-opetition. You can even bring on your competition to partner with them and also sub with it, or sub for them, or they can sub for you, and that increases your skill, your ability to serve this client. So again, and also a ways that you can also increase your skill is to onboard your talent as you need. So you can 1099 people, bring them on board so you can scale up the expertise, your knowledge, skills, and abilities, or your core competencies in order to serve that customer. So you can onboard, 1099 them, and the reason why I say 1099 them is from a cost standpoint, operational cost standpoint. Bringing on a full-time employee is very cost prohibitive for small businesses, and also it is costly to bring on employees, full-time employees, benefits and things of that nature related to that. So that's why 1099 or independent contractors are always a good tool to use when you want to scale up. You want to scale up your business to meet your clients' needs. So you can 1099 folks. You can sub out portions of the contracting that you're going out to other firms, okay, to increase your capacity to serve, right? And then also you can do joint ventures or strategic alliances with either your competition or like-minded firms to scale up your firm. Okay. Again, that's the way that you can definitely grow your company in a strategic way, because you have to definitely plan to be successful. You have to plan to win. And the reason, what I've seen over my almost 30 years in the supplier diversity area is that small businesses do not plan to win. You know, they plan not to fail, but they don't plan to win. And you have to plan. If they award you this contract, you need to be able to, when they send you that notice to proceed, you need to be able to start work. So you can't go out at the time they say, oh, you awarded the contract, to try to lease the equipment, because now you need it right away. You won't pay much more for it than what you did if you planned to have that equipment on board or those folks on board. And can I just also say, in reference to Donald mentions the SAM system, every organization is going to have you register in their supplier portal to do business with them. And in that supplier portal, you're giving them specific information, and one of those things they will ask you for is your minority certification or your woman-owned business certifications, and then they'll also ask you for some type of codes. And those codes could be the NAC codes, they could be CAGE codes, they could be, some of you are in the federal government, you can space, and they could be PSC codes and FSC codes. There's a whole lot of codes out there. And I want to focus on the NAC codes, because it's very important that you select the appropriate North American industry code for your business, because when they send out contracting notifications to you electronically, they're looking at those service codes to see. The system automatically looks at those service codes, who's in that system that has those service codes, and you get e-alerts of contracting opportunities. And you want to make sure you get all the contracting opportunities your particular business can serve, and you want to have the right of refusal. The trick is, and this is where businesses run into problems, Donald, is that they register for all of these entities and they get all of these emails in of contracting opportunities. However, because they're so overwhelmed, they don't have the ability to vet them. So they're missing contracting opportunities that may be ideal for them, but they're missing it because they're overwhelmed. We're in an information overload time in society, so you must have somebody on your team that can vet these contracting opportunities to see how you want to play with this customer. Do I want to go after as a prime? Do I want to go after as a sub? Do I want to partner with somebody as a strategic alliance or joint venture? But you need to surround yourself with folks that can help you navigate or vet these contracting opportunities. So surround yourself with destiny builders, purpose promoters, and acceleration advocates, people who can help you increase and expand and grow your business.
Livingston Works is the thought leader in all things related to supplier diversity and minority or women-owned business enterprise programs, and leverages this knowledge to deliver strategic, tactical, and growth solutions to small minority or women-owned businesses. There's only one go-to. If you need certification assistance, strategic planning support, business coaching, business development wins, or customer engagement strategies, onboard Livingston Works today. To learn more, contact Tawanda Livingston via email at tmcneil69@comcast.net.
That's excellent, Tawanda, and I want to break down, because that was a lot to digest. Some people don't know what a 1099 is. Okay, so a 1099 is someone that when you get paid, the state tax and FICA, Social Security is not taken out. And if you're small, it's easier to do that versus hiring a W-2 person off the bat. That saves you a lot when it comes to liability insurance. And me speaking from the insurance and finance angle, it is about budgeting and saving money when you're starting. So it's important that if you're 1099, that lessens the risk when it comes to the contracts. If you're talking about a prime and a sub, a prime is someone that's established, already doing business, and may want a sub. If you're smaller, means you get a smaller percentage, but you're basically working strategically with that bigger company so you can show existing or new sales and apply for future contracts based on your revenues and past performance. And that puts you in a different model when it comes to looking at contracts and they say, oh, you've had past performance, even though it's with a prime. If you had a sub agreement or a joint venture, a certain level of revenues would come into your organization and your business, and that's going to boost your annual sales. That's going to boost your exposure, and it gets back to what your income level would be if you want to look into the larger contracts. But when you start out, there is no shame in subcontracting. When you sub, that is still a great avenue. And there's a lot of primes that may be out there looking for qualified subs so they can go in and get these other business ventures. But if you're not exposed or you're not marketing yourself, they have no way to find you. So I just want people to know the difference. If you're new 2, 3, 4 years in, it's going to be harder for you to go out there and be a prime contractor by yourself. It's better to have someone, as Tawanda mentioned, that you could either joint venture with or someone that you could kind of piggyback with when it comes to what they're doing, because it could be a larger, let's say it's an accounting contract. It may be great to partner with a larger firm, sub the work out through some of your skills and your capability statement, and still win the contract, but get it within a prime sub relationship so you're not overwhelmed as a small company, but that is still experience for you as you learn the government sector, having that relationship within the contract. As long as it's spelled out and all parties agree, that's still a positive versus you trying to go out there and say, I'm going to seek this on my own and try to be a lone ranger. It's hard to be a lone ranger when you're starting out. So you have to have collaboration, of course, know people in the market, and be able to have someone to speak on your behalf to say, yeah, this is good. And that gets back to the marketing and also the branding and why that's very, very important. And then knowing the finance side, having the proper insurances when it comes to what you're doing, is very, very important.
Absolutely. And so it's because I want to make sure, and I appreciate you, Donald, is that I know we're speaking to a diverse audience and everybody's at different levels in their business. And what I would say is that everyone that is an earshot of this podcast has an opportunity to do contracting in the public and government sector. It's all how you position yourself. The reason why subcontracting is so attractive for minority and women businesses, and it's been designed this way, is because the prime takes 100% of the risk. And if you think of it, if you're doing direct business with your client, you're taking 100% of the risk. What happens in that prime and sub relationship to the end user, the using agency, is the prime is your cushion as a minority and woman-owned business or small business, because they're taking all of the risk and they're subbing out a portion of the contract to you. And I always say 20% of something is better than 20% of nothing. It's no good at being CEO if you can't bring in revenue. 20% of $1 million is better than 20% of nothing any day of the week. So you have to be humble enough to say, look, I need to learn this market. Let me go in as a sub, as a learning ground, an improving ground, so I can, one, build up my performance history, which you're going to need in this space as a prime, as well as my capacity to serve, as well as my knowledge, skills, and abilities with these clients in this market, and build up my reputation with these particular clients. So subcontracting is a very, very important vehicle. Now, I also will say that there are purchases where there are less than 100,000. I can't stress this enough, where you can do direct business with the government. And it's a transactional relationship, meaning that if you sell a widget, they'll buy 100 widgets. You get a purchase order, they pay you, and you keep it moving. However, what that does is opens up the ability for you as a small business or independent business or what have you to do direct business with them. Now, if you do direct business with them, You are going to add it to your capability statement, your website. You're going to market that I'm doing business with the federal government human service division, whether it's a prime or sub. You want to make sure you add that to your profile or all your platforms, because it helps to increase your marketing capacity when people see that you are doing business with the federal government or you're doing business with this large private sector company. Well, if they can do business with them, again, they can definitely do business with us. It helps to build up your credibility in the marketplace. I can't stress that enough as well, Donald, because what I've seen is that businesses that are subs and primes, they do not follow up and put this information that who their current clients are on their marketing materials or virtual marketing materials to let people know that they have the scale and the capacity to serve entities of this size. But back to the point at hand is that subcontracting is an entry point. Now, some people live there. Some businesses live in the subcontracting world. It is my hope that if folks that are listening to this podcast will definitely have a model where they'll enter into the subcontracting world, but my hope is that they will grow to be prime so they can bring other businesses that are diverse and small with them into the contracting space.
That's excellent, Tawanda. And at the key point, what you said about the growth, because I do want to talk a little bit. I know we're probably on time, maybe about 10 minutes or so left, but as you build your business, I do want to talk a little bit by way of time today on finance, because when you grow and let's say you win that contract, we're thinking that the glass is half full, now you have to deal with expenses. A lot of government contracting, as you build, assuming that you get paid net 30, net 45, in between the waiting for your payments and you want to actually build and get more contracts, there needs to be a cash flow bridge when it comes to your payroll, what you're doing, your expenses, your lease, your equipment. All of these things need to be taken into consideration when it comes to bills still got to be paid while you're waiting on that 1 or 2 or 3 contracts to come in. You still have to eat. You still have to live. Still have to survive. Factoring is a way to get some of the bridge when it comes to your business credit. And a lot of people may not know, well, what's business credit? Well, business credit is just like your FICO score with your personal credit. How do they look at you when you pay your suppliers? Do you pay your suppliers net 30? Do you pay them net 15? Your paydex score is a reflection of your business. If your paydex score is less than 60, that's not good. You want your paydex score to be 85, 90, so other suppliers will trust you enough, because you're going to need, whether it's over paper or computers or whatever it is, you cannot survive paying cash basis. You try to survive and don't have no credit at all, then it's going to be tough for you. So I'm saying that to say, with a factor that invoices and front loads, and with your contract officer will front load cash as you're waiting on things to pay. If you don't have the credit capability to do that, it's going to be a tough road to hoe when it comes to getting additional contracts, because you're going to run into, I want this contract, but I can't show enough reserves to get it. And maybe your prime has other commitments. So as you position your company, get your paydex score. Paydex score is as simple as having a Staples account or Costco to start off in your business name. The factor will be on the invoice. Now, those rates will vary based on your business model, but as a business, tax deductions and you structure yourself, all of that will be a benefit and will show a good pay history. So if you need to get $100,000 line of credit on a factor and have that built into your model, you can show that, hey, last year I had this account. Here's a $100,000 credit line that I have approved. Here's my pay history. It got paid back within 8 to 12 months. Now I'm in a position to get that next contract. And if I need to show $50,000 for this one, another $100 for this one, I have it because I have a pay history. But if you do not have a pay history, you do not have any sort of way to show reserves outside of, I've seen clients come to me that have leveraged their house, which is a bad move because that's your personal residence. Don't leverage your house to get a business contract. Try to set up your business to be in position to get the money and then have the business credit to say, I have a 94 paydex score. I have 2 credit lines at $100,000 each with a 0 balance. And I can go after these 2 contracts with that versus saying, I have no business credit, but I got a house with some equity in it. That's crossing over your personal and your business. And I just want to stress that there's nothing wrong with managing credit. There's a harm in having too much credit, but it's nothing wrong with having these type of programs in place under your business name, under your EIN, so you can go after things and you're building up from the sub to the prime. And you're going to notice with the prime and the sub, the main difference is that prime may have a $500,000 factoring line, $1 million credit line, but they started off probably with $50,000, $100,000, and they built that up so they can go ahead and say, yeah, I can put up the reserves because I have a credit line with this particular bank or a factor with this particular company because they built it up through their paydex score. So it's just important to know those little nuggets on having the business. It's better to have money and not need it.
That's right.
Need money and can't get it, because now when your back's against the wall and now you got to cover a payroll for 15 people, but you've abused or didn't pay off some vendors, they're not going to approve you. So you need to have your paydex separately from your personal. Now, people out there that have a good FICO and a good paydex, awesome. But your factor in your business line has nothing to do with your FICO score. Your paydex score is. So I just want to stress that. Having that. I see too many clients, even clients that $1 million plus businesses, they can't file their taxes on time because they got so many debts they didn't plan for. They grew too fast. So solid, moderate, steady growth versus trying to go out here overextending yourself. And now you can't make good on a contract because you don't have the proper financing in place. So I just want to make sure that we at least acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree to that. And I speak to that, Donald, on my podcast related to waging war on wealth, leveraging supply diversity. One of the vitamin C's I speak on is credit worthiness, because credit worthiness is a part of your brand. You must prove that to any client, people want to do business with businesses that are ethically and financially sound, that's going to be around, and that are ethical and value-driven, absolutely. And the financial strength of your company matters in any marketplace, and it will impact your company's ability to achieve such sustainable growth for your business. So speaking of what Donald was talking about, like net 45, net 30, and things of that nature, in the public, private, and government sector, you will notice that when they put out requests for proposals or invitations to bid, they will tell you what their net pay is. Is it a 30-day? Is it a 45-day or 60-day? And you as a business owner, if you do not have liquidity or capital reserves to cover those outstanding receivables while you're dealing with a client, it can take you under. So what I would say is that what you can do is, especially in the government space, they have what they call bid price preferences, where you can offer a discount to your client if they pay early. So some people will offer, if the client pays within 25 days, they offer a 1% discount. That not only positions you well with the client, because they're going to try to make that 25-day mark to save the money, but you can outpace other bidders when you're going out there after that contract, because they will consider that as a part of the savings that you're going to offer with the contract. And I always say there's wisdom at the crossroads, right? That's an old saying. There's wisdom at the crossroads. And here's what I know for sure. Renting money is expensive, especially in times of emergency. After you get the contract, that's an emergency if you need capital. But like Donald said, if you plan for it, if you make it a part of your business model and have cash reserves or lines of credit or a relationship with your community or a financial institution, your credit union, or entities like Donald on hand. You have a relationship where you've already established it when you go after the contract, and you need to tap into that deep reservoir of resources, financial resources. They'll be on hand to help you, as opposed to trying to rent that money in the short term to cover short-term debt, because there is short-term debt, especially in government sector. Let me just say this, because they have high demands, but they're slow to pay. You need to be aware of that. And it's because of that slow to pay, they're great customers to have because of their history of being around. They're not going anywhere. So they're great customers to have. However, they're slow to pay. And so you need to have a vehicle, a financial vehicle in place where you can cover that short-term debt. Because it is short-term. The money is coming. However, you need to wait till the money comes to actually pay your bills and your payroll. And let me just tell you, using your kids' college fund, third mortgage in your home is not a great idea, because you don't want to get into the practice of doing that, because if you fall short, then a lot of people lose. So make sure you build some type of vehicle for short-term debt. And what I would also say is that, just be clear, there are 3 ways that you can infuse cash in your business, right? You can infuse cash, you can use your money, you can self-fund it, or there is debt, and that's what we're talking about here, having debt instruments like loans and lines of credit, credit cards, things of that nature. Those are debt instruments where you can infuse cash into your business. And then there is equity. You will sell equity in your business, like bring on partners or people who invest in your business, and then you can infuse cash that way. And there's also a game changer in infusing cash in your business, and that is grants. There are a lot of grants out there for small, diverse, and women businesses to help bring cash flow and to support your operation, to keep you in business. And the key is to seek out those grant opportunities and bring them in. Now, grants are typically where you will receive money and you do not have to pay that back. However, not all grants are created equal. You need to do your homework, because if you do not use the grant for its intended purpose, it can turn into a loan. So, but it's a game changer in that it can help you mobilize, scale up, and also keep you in business so that you can continue to grow and thrive in your chosen market. I just want to make sure you're aware, if you're going to play in this space, government, public, and private sector, you need to have some financial reserves, some way of infusing cash in your business when it's needed. Like Donald said, it is better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And also, as I always say, renting money can be expensive, especially in times of emergency, and you don't want to do some emotional lending or accumulating debt emotionally for your business. And I will leave you with this, is that understand that in this space, especially now, I can tell you that cash is king, but credit is queen. So you need to have both of those in your business. You need to have some liquidity, you need to have some cash, and you need to have great credit, because that speaks to the financial strength of your business.
Yeah, that's great, Tawanda. And one little small nugget to put on that, make sure you're properly insured. A lot of clients don't realize that cash from your life insurance policy, if properly leveraged, you can draw loans if you have the cash available. And I try to structure clients to build certain cash flow. It is not taxed. So there is an IRS code out there when you draw from that, and there's nothing wrong with if you have to pull 5 or 10 grand emergency, if you get to that point, from your policy and not worry about, okay, I got to pay taxes on this. No, you don't. You know, if you have it set up with your family, and of course, do it within reason. I'm not saying to go out here and exhaust your policy, but my point is, if you have those resources, you're basically borrowing against yourself, and as you pay it back to your policy, that interest credit will go to your cash value and your face amount. So you're building up reserves, and you're also sustaining yourself while you're building up your credit, because you could be at a point where you don't have your paydex up, but you're sitting on 20 grand and your policy, you might need to pull 10 grand to bridge the gap until you get your paydex score up, and then you have credit lines, and now you can keep it moving. But if you don't have the proper insurance, or have a policy that is building up cash, you can get a no-cost one-to-one through my email, which is donald@TaylorAndersonLLC.com. If you need a one-to-one assessment, and I'm pretty sure Tawanda has an email that you may want to put on the podcast, you can reach her directly as far as her email and what she can talk about. But again, I do those on appointment one-to-ones, but it's a no-cost initial assessment. So there's no charge for the assessment, but you would have to set up a time via my email as far as any finance-related questions or anything regarding your business and or personal as far as that goes.
And I want to piggyback on these gems of greatness that we're discussing today, and gems of wisdom that we are discussing today. That it is very important as a business owner, you have life insurance. That is one of the things that I have seen across my, like I said, almost 30 years in supply diversity and diversity area, that businesses, small businesses and minority businesses and women businesses did not have life insurance on the CEO or the business owner. It's very, very important that you do that. Also, what I would say is that you need to have a succession plan for your business. So if you want to retire or if you want to exit the market, you need to have a way of doing that and having it built into your plan. And you might say to me, Tawanda, I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm just trying to survive. But my hope is that instead of, going into business to buy yourself another job or to go into business just to get another income into your home, that you go into business for a business to create multiple streams of income, to become a serial entrepreneur, to go into business so you can influence marketplaces and economies to help all of us to rise.
Absolutely.
In reference to that. And then I know we're coming to the end, but I just want to say for those who are in startups, and this is something that is not tapped into a lot, Donald, but I would encourage you and others to really look into this, because it is a way of infusing cash in your business for startups. And it's called Rollovers for Business Startups. It's called the ROB program, right? Now, the ROB program, traditionally it has been used by franchises. However, all businesses can use it, and it is where it involves your 401k or IRA or other eligible, retirement accounts as a capital to start or buy a business without incurring an early withdrawal fee if you are younger than 59 and a half, so you don't incur that fee, or any tax penalties. It's a national program, and you can find out more about that program on the SBA website. And there are businesses like yourself, Donald, that help folks tap into the ROB program to get cash to start their business or to buy business.
That's great, because I tell clients a lot of times that the reason I work and have multiple streams, I work in my business not to work, if that makes sense. So if you have your business evolving and having the proper insurance, which is important, you can leave a legacy to your daughter. You can leave a legacy to a loved one if you're properly insured and knowing these type of programs, as Tawana just mentioned, as well as having the insurance. Well, what if something happened to you and you're a key person in your business? Who's going to run your business? Your business should be able to, with the right model, be self-sustained if you got the proper insurance. But if you don't, your business will just die. Your passion dies, and you want it to just self-sustain and continue to grow. If you have the right insurance and have it structured properly, it will. But you have to instill that and put that into your lifeline of your business.
That's true. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I can't stress enough about protecting your business, protecting the asset, your legacy. Again, it needs to be able to thrive even when you expire. God willing, that's not too soon. But even when you expire, the business needs to be able to thrive. And the way you do that is to make sure you have the right infrastructure in place. the right insurances, making sure you have cash reserves and you have credit, line of credit, making sure you have a viable customer engagement strategy in your business. And as we wrap up here, Donna, I just want to make sure whether you are a one-person business or a multi-purpose business in any market, because customers' interests and wants and needs change, they are fickle, you must be able to adapt, adopt, and accelerate in order to not only survive, but to thrive in any market space. I would encourage you to meet your clients and customers where they are and make sure you set up a customer-centric strategy. Make sure your business model is adaptable and can accelerate very fast. And when I'm talking about accelerate, I'm talking something different than how Donald was stating, where he says that you have to make sure you grow slowly so you don't grow too fast like a .com and the next thing you're out of business. When I say accelerate, is meaning that in times of emergency, because you have a deep reserve, you can bring on the talent and expertise or the money that you need to meet the market where they are or to help the market to get where they need to be. And more importantly, just like today, you need to be able to invest in virtual branding and marketing. If you're not investing in virtual branding and marketing, you are definitely in the stone ages right now. You will be outpaced by the competition in the next 30 minutes. That's how quickly new businesses are being started and people are dominating marketing spaces. So invest in podcasts like the one today so that you can create your virtual branding and marketing footprint. Make sure you have a mixed model for service delivery and product delivery. That's very, very important. And I will always state that you must be agile. You must have digitalization, which we talked about that with virtual marketing, and make sure you have innovation built into your company. And more importantly, Donald, I would stress to listeners and make sure you collaborate. It's time to humble yourself and collaborate, because that's going to equal growth, and it's going to increase your bottom line sustainably if you're able to connect and collaborate with other businesses so we can all rise, so we can all do well, live well, and play well.
Okay. Tawanda, I want to thank you for all the nuggets you dropped today. And anyone that's listening, feel free again to contact via email. Also, website. My direct website is www.taylorandersonllc.com. And we appreciate your time today. I thank you for owner of Taylor & Anderson, LLC. I'm Donald Anderson, and Miss Livingston, owner of Livingston Works. If she wants to say a few words before we close out, I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, Donald, for having me today. I'm so excited about this podcast and its potential reach to all small businesses, startups, people who are more seasoned, in between stage. I'm excited about the reach of this podcast and to inspire everyone in order to protect yourself, in order to grow yourself and your family. You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be a serial entrepreneur so that you can create multiple streams of income to protect yourself and your family and your business in times of prosperity and austerity. And a great way you do that is through entrepreneurism. And the one way I know for sure that you can grow your business and keep growing your business is through contracting in the government, public, and private sector, leveraging supply diversity programs for your growth and also for your employees' growth and your community growth. Again, I am the owner, Tawanda Livingston, of Livingston Works, LLC. I'm the Chief Business Strategist. I help businesses just like yourself get into these contracting marketing spaces, stay in there until you win, until winning becomes a habit for your business. And anyone who's in earshot of this podcast is a winner. And I want you to continue to win and to thrive. And the way you do that is to tap into folks like Donald Anderson, this podcast, and others to help shape, to help sharpen yourself, and to help you to succeed. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the COVID-19 Businesses Helping Businesses Survive the New Normal podcast. Learn how you can spotlight your business by emailing addvoices@mail.com. That's addvoices@mail.com. Remember, we stand stronger when we work together. Be well and stay safe.